Or am I still silent? Let's see if I can get sound for you. Can anybody hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so welcome. Great. Glad people can hear me now. So now I'll kind of repeat kind of what I had said, seeing there was no sound before. I just wanted to kind of check in with everybody. It's been a really intense week, kind of see how you guys are doing with everything that's happened, especially kind of some of the political violence, the other physical violence that's going on. How are you guys feeling? You know, it's always a big deal when there is violence, but I think in this energy right now, it's even bigger. And so it's really important to feel your feelings and to acknowledge how you are doing. I know I've had the privilege to talk to some of you guys, and I know that there's a lot of emotions going on right now. And that's okay to kind of feel all the emotions. And there's also, you know, besides the emotions, there's also a lot of level of exhaustion. I know I was been super exhausted today, but I really wanted to show up for yous and really kind of see how you guys were doing. So anyone else kind of feeling really exhausted today or from this kind of past week? And there's so much going on, everyone, that it is it's okay to feel your emotions. And I am not a therapist. I am a spiritual coach. I have been a spiritual coach for almost 20 years. So emotions play a big role in how you feel spiritually and how you can kind of connect with yourself. That's one of the big things, is being willing to say how you're doing, and that's how you move through things. So, oops, I got the pup. You probably can't see her. Oh, can you? Ah, there's the pup. She likes to at least kind of make a presence known when I'm on live. But the other thing that I wanted to connect with you guys on is we have a solstice coming up on the 20th. And hello, everyone. And that is going to be in Cancer. So it's looking, again, talking about emotions. It's looking at nurturing. How do you nurture yourself? How are you feeling, like where you feel emotionally stable? Where do you feel your most comfort in your own home, even in your own being? You know, that's a big deal. So yes, it is going to be followed by a Jupiter Cazimi, which, I mean, we have got so much astrology this week. I am not an astrologer. I'm still learning a lot of it, but this is going to be since we've kind of like hit June, we've just hit things after items for the astrology piece. Ooh, alongside a more cosmic geometry. That I don't know much about. Say more. But I know that we also have some dwarf planets also in play this week. Okay, Stephen Burns. Oh, I know him, yes. And so one of the people that I don't know him personally, I know of him, I should say. Yes, I would definitely recommend him. And I would also, if you are interested in more of the astrology pieces, Pam Gregory is an amazing, amazing astrologer. Yes, and so she does, yes, he's an astrophysicist on here that delivers a lot of great information. Yes, I agree. I have not watched a lot of him, but I have watched some of his stuff. So yes, so two really good resources for people if you are more interested in the astrology piece, all the stuff that is happening this week into next week. I know that there is also another woman, Consciously Erin, who monitors the Schumann's resonance, and that has been kind of going off the charts as far as having, some big intense energy there. So it's really understandable that you could be feeling really, really exhausted with everything kind of going on. And take time to figure out what it's a new moon with the solstice. If you're in northern hemisphere, it is our summer, and if you are in the southern hemisphere, it is your beginning of winter. So make sure you're setting the intentions that you want to bring in with this new Cancer moon that is coming up for the solstice. And I don't know if you can hear my pup in the background. She was running around, so now she came in and is panting really hard. What else do you guys want to know kind of about either like the solstice or just kind of the energy in general? I am so glad you allowed yourself to have some emotions today. Sometimes we bottle them up. I think in a Western culture especially, we are so taught that we just should eat our emotions, and that's not helpful. So I'm so glad that you were able to have that release. And even if you don't know why you cried, that's a big deal. It's kind of like how I've been kind of seeing these last couple of weeks is there's energy just building and building and building and building to a point that we just are kind of overflowing. And that is very possible why you were able to cry today, is it was just building up on those emotions and just truly having that kind of release. That is amazing that you were able to have the release. All right, I wanted to, do you think any planetary energies? Yes, I 100% believe that. So the question is do you think any planetary energies have effect on our emotional bodies? Yes, 100% I believe that. There's different schools of thought in astrology, especially like more classical versus kind of evolutionary. And so the more classical kind of feels like the outer planets, Jupiter onward, and the traditional planets don't have as much impact on us personally, where evolutionary astrology says, yes, everything kind of has an impact on us personally, and the global or generational for the big planets. I tend to lean a little more toward the evolutionary astrology. I really like some of like the whole house system of the old, but I like Uranus for me is a planet that is a planet of disruption and a planet of kind of change. And I will say personally, that planet has definitely affected me and affected my emotions very much. So that I really do think that they can impact us individually too. Any specific questions on any planets for the emotional bodies that you have? That kind of a follow-up to your question there? Because I think a lot of people know about Mercury retrograde, which we are going to go into next month. And here's the thing. I actually really like Mercury retrograde. It's taken me a while, but I like Mercury retrograde because it gives me that chance to redo, rethink, recreate. And so that's my intention when I kind of go into the retrogrades now, is saying, okay, this is a time to recalibrate things, even when it's the bigger outer planets. I like to think of it like us being in a giant ocean, yes, where there is a current, and that whether we acknowledge it or not, our body is caught in the flow of the universal ocean current. I love that. Yes, that is beautiful. That is a great one. Yes. I have never thought of it that way. How I actually really kind of do like an ocean one, which actually kind of ties into this. It's not necessarily with astrology, but when we think about either kind of the rough stuff that we're dealing with in life or the good stuff, I like to have that visualization of the surfer. The surfer is going to go out and that person is going to try to catch the wave and then ride that wave, whether that is, a perfect wave, something joyful going on in our life, or something that's kind of rocky and all of a sudden that wave kind of throws them around. So it really does kind of tie into what you were saying with that flow. And that's how I think of a lot of things now, is with that surfer. And I can honestly tell you, I've actually never been on a surfboard, but I love the analogy that they always keep getting back to it. They just don't. And the other thing that they don't do is, especially if they're the only ones out in the ocean, they're not going to be like, well, my best friend would really love this wave, so I'm not going to catch it. They're going to catch that wave. And we don't do that enough in our lives, because we're like, well, if I'm having a good time, but I know my friend or I know my family member isn't having a good time, I shouldn't do that thing. But if we look at it from a surfer standpoint, they're always going to catch that wave. Yes. And then with that surfer analogy, sometimes the wave is the surfer's only hope of making it back to the beach. Yes, I never thought about that, but you're right. And so that is another thing of, they might be going through something hard. And we all go through those periods of things that are hard. And I think right now, with so many things breaking down, so many systems breaking down, not even just in the US, but worldwide, that a lot of people are kind of feeling like they're stuck in the middle of the ocean and they can't figure out how to get back to the beach. And that's kind of like collective energy. And I don't think we are ever going to land where we've been before. Even when you think of like an ocean or even just a river, there is a saying that you never step in to the same river twice. And that is because every time you step in, water has already moved. So you are stepping into a new part of the river or of the ocean. And I think the more that we can embrace the new stuff that is starting to come in, the better off we're going to be, because there is a lot of things breaking down. And there's also a grief process that we should acknowledge of things that are breaking down, because in a lot of ways it was time, but in also a lot of ways it's really hard to watch destruction of either systems or countries or political parties, any of that stuff or institutions that we thought we could rely on. And they're changing and shifting. So being able to go with the flow, going back to kind of that metaphor of either with the cosmos or just in life with the ocean and the flow, we're going to do better if we can kind of navigate that flow a little bit for us. Other things with that piece. Otherwise, I do want to pull a tarot card, see what we have for us tonight. But if we certainly have more, I'm certainly willing to do more on that topic as well. And thank you for all your comments. These have been awesome. And I will put the Pam Gregory's link in and Stephen Burns as well. Oh, good. I'm so glad. So glad. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit and let's pull a tarot card to see what kind of the focus is for you guys for whatever, like I would say evening, but seeing I don't know where everyone is watching from, just kind of wherever you are for the day. And I've got only the major tarot or the major arcana here. And this deck is a tarot deck, but it also has all of the astrology for it too. So what card is for tonight? Ah, from Texas. Excellent. Ah, Gemini and the Lovers. Can you guys see that okay? And so, there is, who is just finishing up in Gemini? Well, I know our sun, the sun is in Gemini right now, but I think there still might be another planet in Gemini as well. But Gemini, communication. Where are you communicating with others and with yourself? And here's something to think about. What are you actually avoiding talking to yourself about? As we get into all this like energy that's kind of swirling, there's a lot of stuff in our personal lives that are shifting and changing too. And sometimes we have choices like the Lovers. Lovers is all kind of about choices. But sometimes we have blinders on that we can't see different choices that we might otherwise explore. So where in your life can you kind of look at different choices that you've got? And maybe it is related to a relationship. Maybe it is related to your job. Maybe it's related to stuff with family. I know personally for me, there's a lot of family stuff coming up right now for me, and especially with my parents. And so that's kind of hard to navigate. And there's been things that I haven't wanted to see. So this card is asking you to see those things that you may not want to see so you can either heal or move past them, make a new decision, especially as we are in these turbulent times, to help kind of usher in change. When we stay stuck, we kind of block opportunities. Yes. And this comatose makes sense. I just realized I've always neglected things I could do and didn't have the free will. That's been huge. There is a lot of people right now that are feeling constricted in different aspects of their life, and different people I've talked to, different clients that I've had, because I do personal client readings as well. And that has been kind of the overall theme of people, is really feeling kind of confined. And how do we break out of that sometimes self-confinedness that we've not even necessarily consciously put ourselves in a box, but we've put ourselves in a box maybe from what we thought others were expecting from us, what we thought relationship should look like. And all of a sudden we're kind of coming to a realization like, oh, what worked for me 6 months ago, 3 years ago, isn't working right now. So be gentle with yourself. And I know that you also just mentioned you had your big release today. So another big thing that, you could have been releasing stuff that you've been holding on to that you didn't even realize. And it's starting to come up. It's starting to kind of bubble up to the surface. And that's okay to allow it to bubble up. So, all right. What else do you guys want to cover? I've covered most. It is scary. And it's scary to go through it, but I will tell you, as having gone through a bunch of stuff myself recently and dealing with all my other clients, that kind of going in it is scary, but then kind of coming out the other side, the relief that you start to feel is huge. And that's the part to kind of focus on, is knowing that you're going to get to that hope, knowing that you're going to get to a different place, even being in the thick of it right now, where you don't possibly feel like you have a lot of hope or feel like there is a different way out. There is, but sometimes we just unfortunately have to go through stuff. And that is where we are collectively, and that is where so many people are individually. One of the things that my guides, when I'm kind of in the middle of stuff, one of the things my spirit guides always give me is they'll always kind of flash a picture of the Lorax from Dr. Seuss, because that was one of my favorite books as a kid. And there's a part in the book where he's got to look down because there's obstacles and hazards down. And then he's got to keep looking up because there's low-hanging things that he can whack his head on. And then there's stuff to the right and stuff to the left. And as you're going through it, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to look. And that is a great metaphor for me when I'm kind of in the middle of stuff, is like, I don't even know where to look. I don't know how to process this. But having that picture in my head, it's like, oh yeah, okay. Sometimes we can't go around it. We just literally have to go through it and watch out for all the obstacles that are coming our way. And it kind of bites when you're going through it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. That has never been my style, to only focus on the positive. That said, you can do both. You can, set an intention for, what, yes, I'm going through a really tough time and I still want to feel respected right now. I'm going through a really tough time and I want to still be able to sleep at night. So you can kind of do where you're acknowledging what you're going through and kind of looking for that hope. That's kind of where I've navigated, and that's kind of where I'll kind of encourage my clients to do as well, because we can easily get caught in the spiral of negativity. And goodness knows there's so much media out there that wants to keep you in that spiral, because when you're in that spiral or when you're in that fear state, you don't make the same decisions than when you're not. So the other thing you can do is, what if I'm not fearful right now? What decision would I make? What if I feel confident right now? What decision am I making? You're reframing that fear and putting it into kind of a what if, being curious to solutions instead of getting stuck in the fear. I really because a lot of times when we think of the what if, it's the, oh my gosh, what if there's a tornado? What if there is a hurricane? What if the house falls into the river? Our minds tend to go into the what if negative. But if we flip that and say, what if I'm confident today? What if my house is perfectly fine? It gives our minds something to do, because our minds want to process something, which is why they like the what if negative spiral. But if we give them the what if positive spiral to play with, even if you go about your day, then it kind of changes it for you. Like I do a lot of steps in different days. So if things that I'm processing, I'll say, what if every step I take, I feel this way, or decisions are easier for me. What if something more positive? Yeah, that's way different. And it's harder to actually imagine initially. Yes, it is. It is definitely harder to imagine initially because we've been so trained to imagine the negative spiral. And so you can do the what ifs that way. The other thing, if you're kind of stuck there, you can also do, this is from Alice in Wonderland, I believe in 6 impossible things. And that is where you want to have a lot of fun. So let's say you're really stressed and you just cannot figure out a solution, and doesn't even matter the problem. And you can say, what if I believe in unicorns? What if I imagine the universe being completely purple? What if I imagine that I can have a solution when I dream? What if I imagine all of a sudden all my problems are disappeared? What if I imagine purple hippopotamuses? Even though some of those were like way far out there, some of them, the more you do that exercise, you'll start to all of a sudden kind of get some logical ones kind of thrown in, and you're like, oh, maybe if I do take a nap or sleep on it tonight, I'll wake up tomorrow and have a better sense of it. So those are 2 ways you can do it, is kind of the 6 impossible things, or the what ifs. Both work really good, and I kind of combined them in that example. Yeah, your greatest life goals, fringe impossibilities. What if they weren't impossible? What if you believed in the impossible? What would you do? What would you create? Now, I don't think there's going to be purple hippopotamuses, but what if we believed in it? Because the more you allow your mind to kind of expand like that, the more it's willing to engage with you in a little bit more practical realizations. And then once those kind of are met, then you're like, oh, well, if I can do these, then kind of here's the next level. And the more that you play with that, the easier it becomes. I've literally just started to do the what ifs on the positive spiral for the last probably 6 months or so. But I've done I believe in 6 impossible things for years. And that gets me out of when I'm spiraling like this, it pops me out of that downward spiral and be like, oh, okay, I can actually kind of figure out a solution to this. And so that is something that I work with my clients on for, depending on what is going on personally in their life. And also just people that, are stuck kind of in that spiritual piece. Because sometimes there's so much spirituality out there. There's so much faith stuff out there. It's hard to kind of navigate it for people. So it's those different pieces of where you can kind of start to reframe, rethink of the way you do things. Again, going back to the card that we pulled, this Gemini card in the Lovers, the choices and options that you have, even when it doesn't feel like we have any options. And even if you don't take those as practical options like the purple hippopotamus, you're still allowing yourself to see something different. And I bet you almost all of you now have imagined a purple hippopotamus. All right, so what else do you guys want to talk about today. This discussion has been great. I'm so grateful. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please make sure to subscribe. I go live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. All right. So I will say that we have got a bunch of astrology coming up in the next several weeks that is still going to be intense. So there is that for people. And when I've done, because I do weekly card readings for everyone, and the last this is the third week, I have gotten the image of smacking a hornet's nest. So please be a little careful. I don't think yous will be the ones to smack it. I think you will be the one to deal with the fallout of smacking a hornet's nest. Do you think about where you were before you were born ever? Ooh, I like your questions. Yes, I do. I am a firm believer in past lives. I believe that we have multiple, galaxies or wherever that, where our soul exists between lives. One of the things that I'm really doing a lot of work on is, that this is just kind of like, if we look at our life as a really great VIP vacation from our spirit life, from our soul's life. Yes, we have hard things here. Yes, we have challenges, but you can also be on a VIP trip and have, the cab not show up or have your hotel canceled. Like, we get to choose how we're using this life. One of the people that might be of interest to you is Cash Peters. I don't know if you've ever watched his videos. He actually has an enlightened being channel, and he actually does the crossover. So from the moment we die to the last kind of consciousness moment that we have. And he sees pictures of that and then he draws it. So he is a really fascinating man. And I will put his link below. He has one under his name, but he does a little bit more current stuff, but the enlightened being one is looking at that and then looking at kind of like that cosmic consciousness that everyone is kind of involved in. There was a really great channel, and I'm trying to remember who did it, but their metaphor was that everyone is a soup, and instead of blending it together, if we're a veggie soup, we all keep our individual consciousness, and then we blend with each other to get a better flavoring of things. Yes. Okay. Let's see. I had a repeating dream where I was a kid that I was being abducted by aliens or something. I've always wondered if that's how I've ended up on Earth. So I will say that one of the so I don't do a lot with galactic beings or aliens. I like to call them galactic beings a little bit better because I think Hollywood has kind of taken over the alien term, but absolutely, if you're going with that term, that's fine. There is some talk that any connection with galactic beings was kind of set up on the other side, that people kind of agreed to, have abductions or experiences with galactic beings before they came to this earth and this body, and saying, hey, we wanted to have these experiences either for soul growth, for teaching ourselves something to learn, for teaching others. And I that resonates really well with me, is that those like abductions or encounters were kind of pre-planned. And so, if that resonates with you, take it. If that doesn't, that's fine too. But I definitely think we are going to, as we move forward, have more and more contact with galactic beings. I think that as we are opening up, that's going to be more prevalent in our daily lives, where it won't be quite so like, ooh, this was a big, scary alien piece. It'll be like, oh yeah, that was like our neighbor. This popped in for a little bit. Okay, so then, yes. Oh, and then going back to my reference about the soup from somebody who channeled, yes. Altogether, we make the soup. Individually, we are the ingredients, 100%. And I really like that. I really like that analogy for us here on Earth, and kind of also when we are in spirit form, when we are in soul form, that, we have kind of that collective consciousness, but we also have kind of still our own flavor to it that we're adding to it to make the betterment of humanity. That's one of the other things that I will kind of circle back a little bit to, as we were talking about kind of going through stuff. One of the things that I am being really, really conscious to say with whatever is kind of going on in my life is that it is in the highest and best good for me. If it is dealing with another individual, it is the highest and best good for them. And then it is the betterment for all. And that kind of releases I'm a Virgo rising and Capricorn moon. So it kind of releases my need for that control of, well, this situation has to go this way. And where I'm like, oh, now I'm just putting it out to the universe to say it's got to be in my highest and best interest. It's got to be in the other person's highest and best interest, or the company or whoever I'm dealing with. And it's the betterment for all. And again, that also shifts how I look at solutions, how I create things. And it goes right back to that soup, is that we all are playing a part in this time right now. And we have been. We're just now a little more conscious of playing that part. And will continue to be more conscious. And like going back to the kind of the galactic beings, like to me, that's kind of cool if we're going to, be in this lifetime and have more contact with people, with the galactic beings, of making it better for our planet, our Earth, our galaxy. All right, so I am going to wrap this up for tonight. But again, I will put all the links that I talked about in the live after that gets done processing and I get that posted. But then I am live every Wednesday at 7. With everything going on, I've kind of also been jumping on lives just every once in a while too. So you might see some extra lives as well. Okay, so we see here. So think of it like this. The soup goes beyond humanity, space, and the universe. The soup also contains all times that ever existed. Every moment throughout all history is its own here and now. Perfect way to end. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys have watched me live or watched any of my videos, but one of the things I always do when I end is make sure you give yourself a self-hug, because you do have a private side and a public side, and both sides really, really could use some extra nurturing right now. All right, this has been an amazing live. Thank you for all of the comments, all of the questions. all of the amazing comments that truly has made this great. And I will either catch you on a pre-recorded video or the next live on next Wednesday. All right, bye for now.